Every day you get up, brush your teeth, put your clothes on, go to school, come home, do your homework, etc. What's it all for? Why do we do it? I was given, as well as many other students, the question of what is a personal legend? By dictionary definition, a personal legend is your life's spiritual purpose. Now that's great and all, but how about we break that down in my own words? A personal legend to me is the reason you get up every day. It's a desire, passion, or longing. It's that image in the back of your head that you always push to the side and ignore, but always trail back to. It's what you've always been good at, but always overlooked. It's your purpose in the world. Attaining your personal legend is probably the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. It sounds like you would wake up one day, know exactly what it is and where to find it, but it's really not that easy. Step 1, listening. By listening, I mean paying attention to when you're doing something you love, but in the back of your mind, you're saying, I'd rather be doing this or that. And yes, it sounds very dumb, but it's the only way I could really explain it. You'll know the feeling when you get to this point. It's kind of like a sign from the universe. Like Paulo Coelho said, when a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his dream. It's a push in the right direction. Here's a little story. Well, my story. I couldn't tell you exactly when it happened, but all I know is that this past year has been packed with constant change. Not only in myself, but everything around me. Now, when I was a child, I was always making something, whether it be a drawing, a painting, some random craft, etc. It's something that I always loved and did, even when I didn't realize it. As I grew older, responsibilities and friendships started to seem more important, so I pushed being creative to the side. I started to enjoy other things like music and sports. Those were most important to me at that time. Now in school, the only class I really strived in was art. People would always say, wow, Jenna, you're so good at this and that. And I never really accepted the compliment because to me, it felt like a normal thing. It wasn't a big deal to me. Now I was grateful to receive the compliment, don't get me wrong. It just didn't faze me. I never really noticed anything until 7th grade. That's when a new teacher came to my elementary school. This teacher pushed me in so many ways and led me to where I am today. Here's why. About a year or two prior to first meeting her, I began to fall deeply in love with cameras, editing, filmmaking, things like that. The only people that really knew about what I did were my classmates. I had a small class. Around that time, I was going through some personal things, which I'm not going to talk about, but videos were a way I could express myself and speak my mind, because believe it or not, I have a lot to say. Anyways, this teacher decided one day that the whole class is going to be involved in a newscast video project. Everyone immediately pointed to me to film and edit it. It was really overwhelming because I'm a closed-off person, and my craft especially, I like to keep private. But I also felt a tug in me to do it, so I listened. From there, I got to film and direct an entire newscast, with the help of producers, of course. I had never been so happy to express myself with others around me. You see, the weird thing about me is I love to make people happy. Love it. But talking and being extroverted is something I'm really not good at. But this project showcased what I have to give to the world, much like this one is. You're watching right now. Seeing people's reactions and smiles from what I created definitely left a mark on me. That was my first step onto my path, after many years. Step 2, giving it a chance. We'll call this the testing zone. This is when you try to take what you were listening for and adding it to your everyday schedule. For example, if you listened and you were trailing off to drawing something, you may try to draw more in your free time. If you enjoy it, you'll try to do it more often. If you don't, you'll go right back to where you started. Once I realized I loved what I was doing, I began to slowly open up about everything and eventually began to have others involved. Then it all began to fade when the end of 8th grade year came. Time went by crazy fast, so I had no time to create anything I wanted. I did get to write a lot though, which led to me writing a book. By a book, I mean something I had to write for school, but I consider it a book. If you didn't know, I'm a poet. I write poetry. By that time, I hadn't shown anyone my writing because it's vulnerable. It's me, raw. That terrified me. Showing people my vulnerable self scared me, but that same teacher encouraged me to share what I have to give to the world, and I ended up winning first place, which isn't the important part. I remember when I first turned that book in, I was terrified. I thought teachers were going to call my parents and say I needed help because of the cover. Now yes, it is a dark cover, but it holds beauty behind it, and that's why I drew it. I think the moments that really stuck with me were the numerous amounts of teachers that came up to me that read my book, saying that they loved it and it made them cry. Those moments have such a special place in my heart because it showed me visually that my writing, my craft is impacting people. They felt what I was putting into those words. That's when I knew this is what I'm meant to do. Step 3, the climb. This step is when you've come to the conclusion that this thing is what you have a passion for in every way possible. It's what you obsess over, it's what you think about 24/7, it's what you want to do. So you start to develop a plan. How are you going to get there? Where do you start? This is the time when you do a lot of research about what you should do to achieve it. I can't really explain what your plan should be because everyone's plan is completely different. So that's the hard part. You have to figure that out on your own. And your plan isn't always going to be correct. There are going to be plenty of twists and turns and bumps in the road along the way. In the end, it just makes you that much more ready for achieving your personal legend. So life went on and even more changes began in spring. I went to summer school and that was my first step into a public school. So I didn't know anyone and that was terrifying. Still is, but that's irrelevant to the story. Anyway, in summer school I got to meet some friends and make some acquaintances, which was nice. Then freshman year started and I was a nervous wreck. This year I chose to take a photography class because it's what I love. Little did I know that this class would kickstart so much. As the year went on, I began to make some friends because of this class. I started to show my work to everyone on one platform and that led to meeting some of my best friends, even some from summer school who I didn't talk to then. Toward the end of the year, I began to mentally change and mentally realize how much passion I have for this craft and to make people happy. I had a big decision to make with myself. I had to choose between two things that I absolutely loved. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much more happiness I'm brought when I'm able to create than if I'm stuck doing something to please others. I came to the agreement that art is what I love and always have. I thought I was going to regret it. I thought I was making a terrible decision, but to this day, I do not regret it for a second. Once I decided on what I wanted to do, I felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. I felt ready and able to create everything I wanted. I finally started to get back into painting and drawing and taking pictures. I finally felt creative again. 2019 was the kickstart to so much. I don't even know where to start. My photography teacher entered several of my photos into 3 shows, 2 being such prestigious shows, 1 being across the nation. My photography teacher has been the main reason I'm constantly inspired to improve. I've drawn, not only for myself, but for others, and seeing their reactions have been so much more valuable than anything to me. I've painted, I've written, I've created. Now, me saying all of this is not a way to boast or brag in any way. It's something I'm proud of. It's something I've worked for so long. I felt that tug in me constantly, and I listened to it. I am proud of where I stand, and I think it is more than acceptable to show it. Step 4, reaching it. Now, there never really is a final step in achieving your personal legend because there are infinite ways to improve. So this isn't your final step. This step is when you're the closest you've ever been to it. This is where most people seem to give up due to fear, doubt, or they just aren't ready for it. Now, not being ready for it is okay, but giving up is never okay. Never let fear take control of you to the point of ruining all of your hard work. Look at it like this. Here is a bunch of blocks, and these blocks represent where you stand in life at the moment. You're standing pretty tall and strong, right? Now let's take this bigger block. This block represents a giant bump in the road that you didn't see coming. There are 2 outcomes to this scenario, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you're willing to keep going. You can let all of your hard work go to waste, crumble down, and have to start from the very beginning, or you can find a solution to this problem. You can find a new way to holding yourself up strong. You can hold yourself up strong. That's the thing that most people seem to lose at this step. They lose the confidence in the fact that they can do it. You can do it. It's funny how we're so determined as humans to do what we want to do, but once we're there, we back out. We're too scared. It's like facing a fear. When we see it, we run, but we think about it all the time. The only thing different is that this is something we want. So why do we run? So after all of that, we're still left with the question of, why should I follow my personal legend? Well, let's see. You would be able to wake up every day excited to do what you love. You would be able to have no boundaries of what you can and can't do. You would be able to finally express who you are and not have to wait for the weekend or tomorrow. It's now. Much like Santiago. He wanted his dream now. He didn't want to wait any longer, and it made him genuinely happy until he found his real personal legend, which he then acted on soon after. So if you love something, why wouldn't you go through with it? Most people don't go through with their personal legend because it's a lot of time and effort. Now I just see that as straight up lazy, or in other words, passionless and dull. How can you go through life not having something to work for, something to look forward to? If you don't have a desire, you're stuck in that same boring daily routine. This is where discipline comes into play. If you keep saying in your head you're going to do something, more often than not, you'll push it to the side. Say you'll do it later. The only way you yourself will end up doing something is if you give yourself structure. Write it down. Make a calendar of when and what you're doing each day to achieve it. Don't take breaks just because you're too tired or you're too busy. The more you take those breaks, the more your brain is going to to think it's okay to not do it. That'll just set you back farther than you already are. If you truly want your personal legend, you will make time for it, and you will grow a little more each day. Now here's some warnings. The world is going to test you a lot, and that testing can really mess with your head mentally. It can manipulate your brain into thinking it can't do this, it's not possible, why are you trying? You have to be so much stronger than it, so determined, because if not, you will listen to it and trust it. Do not trust the voice inside your head. You can do this and you will get there. It's all about self-perception. What you believe yourself to be, you will be or become. If you keep believing that something will be your reality, the more of a chance it will be your reality. Along the way, you may start to worry that your personal legend will not work out and that you won't want to do this later in life. The fear of it not working out ruins so many opportunities that could have been great. Life is about risks. Not life-threatening risks, but healthy risks. This includes not listening to that voice in your head and just going for it, or working even harder at it. In the end, it will work out. Right now, it may seem like a mess and you have no idea what's going on, but it will all make sense eventually. You should follow your personal legend because it is your purpose. It is for you. It may take a while to get there, some longer than others, but you will get there and you will find your happiness. Take the risk and it will be worth it. If it doesn't work out, get right back up and keep going. You got this. I believe in you. And one more thing. You're probably wondering where my story's ending is. And I'd love to give you one, but like I said, it never really ends. I'm living mine right now. Are you?